Hello, everyone, and welcome to the revamped, slightly Ukatsu Podcast. My name is Joe. I've currently filled in as the new host of this podcast, which will not be supplied with a background video. Instead, you'll see nice After Effects, what are they called? Audio waves.
Audio waves.
That way we have to do less editing, baby. Let's go. But you get to hear more from us, and we get to still talk about everything that we love. And today with me, we have, to my left, is Teddy.
Yep, that's me. What's up, guys? It's been a while that I've been on the podcast.
Good to have you back. Across from my aisle, who I've walked down the aisle with
They're
in
gonna
a
take
business
that. Okay.
sense, is Ben.
Yeah, you're gonna take that way too literally.
We're
yeah,
married.
there we are. We are
married.
indeed married.
Yes.
Continuing on, though.
And then, last but not least, rounding out, is our lovely Liv.
Hello.
Hello.
Wait, is this the first time that Teddy and Liv
And
have been on the
together?
same podcast?
No.
Oh,
we've
it's
been
a
on
double
it before.
married.
Oh my
it's a
gosh, it's like a
double
marriage vacation.
Marriage vacation. Double.
Wow.
Podcast.
That's-
yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. We're kicking it off strong today for you guys, and we're going to get into our first segment, which is Ukatsu, Relevant News. Anyway, so we're going to talk about summer camps. Summer camps, we are 2 weeks in. We just wrapped up Tuesday. No, I'm sorry. It's Wednesday.
It is
See?
Wednesday.
Wow.
You lose track of time when you're
Flies
in
by.
the
Fog of War.
the fog of
The
war.
fog of war.
Fog of war.
known as summer camp. So this week is our third week of summer camp.
It's our fourth week of summer
Holy
camp.
moly. We start off with YouTube camp, Fortnite camp, League of Legends camp. Now we're in our first series of half-day camps. This was morning Super Smash Bros. Followed by PM Fortnite, which is sold out, by the way. And holy moly, guys. What do you thoughts and opinions, especially from Liv and Ben?
Yeah. I've always said half-day camps are both quicker but harder than full-day camps. Things fly by. You go your normal curriculum, you do your journals, we do the whole deal, and it's over because by the time we're at the halfway point, camp's already over. But I also simultaneously think they're the most exhausting thing in the world. You're going from one batch of kids, and then as soon as they start to tire out, you get a whole new batch of kids, also full of energy. You start all over again. So,
Yeah. And Liv, this is your first summer camp. What do you think?
It's pretty cool, honestly.
it's chill.
What?
It's chill. Just
What?
just
I mean-
another day. I do
I
this
mean,
for a
it
living.
is exhausting, but it's been really cool that there have been kids that have literally never been to Ukatsu before that have signed up for our camps. I just think that's wild and cool that they actually get to come. So, yeah, it's kind of cool to get to meet all the new kids.
We're glad to have you on board. Teddy, you probably have no opinion whatsoever.
Yeah, I have a little bit of an opinion, but I haven't actually been helping at them because I've been at work. However, I think it's an awesome thing that kids have the ability to do something over the summer and actually improve on some skills like YouTube camp or Fortnite camp, which I don't know. I wish I had as a kid, so it was
Yep.
pretty sweet.
Don't we all? Don't we all wish we had a
Yep.
Ukatsu summer camp as a child? But it's been a lot of fun, and we can't wait for more. We're rounding it out, and we're doing an encore week for those of you who missed out on camp. We have a one-day Fortnite camp for those who missed out on the sellout. We have a one-day 8-hour League of Legends camp in the middle of it all, and then on Friday, that's probably the most interesting one, is kind of a other games camp.
Question mystery camp.
No, it's gonna be a summation though of like Overwatch, Rainbow Six Siege. Y'all listen to the podcast right now. I know y'all play Rainbow Six Siege. You guys will have a chance to throw down in that, as well as maybe even CS:GO. So hopefully, if you haven't made it to the camps, you can make it out to one of those. But next up, I wanted to talk about our Fortnite 9-week summer split. Ben, what is this? What are we talking about here?
Well, our tournament series that we do every single Saturday, they've been going great. We've been full, so a lot of money to be made if you like Fortnite and play it and think you're good. But we want to continue to reward people who keep coming back for just giving out, supporting it and being a part of the community. Some of these kids come every single week for the last couple months. So we started a third, kind of like our third season, a revamped season, where we keep track of the stats for 8 continuous weeks, seeing which kids are on top that come consistently, and the individuals with the highest scores at the end get a semester or like a split prize, just like a battle pass kind of deal, right? So it's been so far pretty close. I mean, there have been some crazy scores in the first 2 weeks, so
Yeah. Kids are getting good at Fortnite.
yeah.
And why are we all so bad? It's because they have time. That's the answer. You kids. If only we had time. Just kidding. I'm not going to turn it into one of those. But, Teddy, do you wish you were still a competitor?
Yeah, a little bit. Watching a lot of the competitors now in the previous kind of splits, I just kind of miss it in terms of competing. It's been fun, but I also enjoy volunteering, so that's why I don't compete anymore, kids. But I I will gladly, if you come to an open play or one of the sessions online, I will play against you in a 1v1 and prove to you that I still have the skills, even though I may be washed up, as some people might think.
Washed, yes.
But I will take on any challengers because I still believe I have the Fortnite skills. I actually dropped yesterday an 11 elimination first win in arena, so I felt good about that.
Nice.
But
Very nice. Yeah.
still got it.
It's one of the things that you have to live with as a mentor. You kind of retire your own jacket and then find someone to train up and say, you're the next me.
Yep,
Well,
you're the
then,
chosen
not
one.
necessarily, but I'm gonna play vicariously through you. Talking about you, freshman Hickman League squad. But anyway, Liv, do you have any inputs about the tournaments? You've been a really big help, and all the kids know you now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like people knowing my name.
You have a nickname?
Liv?
No. Don't you have a nickname?
Warped Penguin?
No. Didn't one of our kids give you a nickname? I'm Lil Jim.
Oh, I even asked Tori, and he could not remember what he named me.
You mean
Can't even
Tice?
remember the name.
Whoever
Nice.
gave me the nickname, yeah,
anyway.
I couldn't remember it. But no, I really like the the Fortnite tournament, since we've also added kind of like a dance battle aspect. It was really cool last week to kind of see literally over half, if not like 15 of the kids all trying to do the same emote up
Yeah.
on the board.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
That
that's
was-
probably
Just doing the Krabby dance.
yeah, that was
yeah, that's
pretty
been one of
cool.
my favorite segments that we've
So
added.
cute. But last but not least, we have some local news, Columbia, Missouri news. Hickman Esports Room is done. Actually, Ben and I last week got to check it out. The ceiling tiles are black. Made me want to paint our ceiling tiles back, but it's too late.
Yeah.
We're about to move soon. Anyway, they have finished their esports room in partnership with Dell, and it's
looks
pretty
dope.
dope. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they got a lot of stuff. They got some really nice stuff, and for the first one, for the 3 schools in Columbia Public Schools, it looks pretty nice. I know their principals working hard trying to outfit both Battle and Rockbridge with their own setups and rooms. So hopefully that keeps going well, because they put in a lot of work and it looks great.
Awesome. Yeah, and that could mean some big things for the future of Ukatsu as we work with all high schools, right? I think we've always said that every single school at some point is going to get their own esports room. It might
Oh,
not
yeah,
be
for
as
sure.
swanky as Hickman's, because their principal, Principal Grignani, if you're listening to this, big shout out. He really went down. He doubled down on the coolness factor of this place. But most schools should have their own equipment soon, just like you have a tennis court, right? Just like you have a football field. In no time, you'll be seeing a lot of esports rooms.
It looks pretty cool. I also got a chance to see it, and their mascot is cute. Was it Cupies? Cupies?
Cupies,
I think I was
Cupies?
say cute. I was like,
Baby
oh,
dolls.
cute.
No, but anyway, the rug. They have a rug in the middle of the room, and it's literally the Cupies, and it's got a little headset on, like a customizable rug. So
Yeah.
that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
It was kind of
Yeah,
cool.
adding that's like a little flair to it probably makes it feel just that much special for Hickman, especially since they did take the championship trophy for League of Legends.
It's sitting in there.
So
That was a big trophy.
Yep, that was
Yeah.
their first one, though. Rockridge has taken the last 2. This is Hickman's first title, so.
And so with that, congratulations again, Hickman. And for the other schools that might be listening to this, did you know that you will have opportunities to practice in this facility, the Hickman High School facility? All you have to do is DM us on Discord, and we can actually get that set up for you. So even if you're at Battle, even if you're at Rockbridge, Dell has graciously offered this to everyone at the esports room. So just contact us. Talk to us, right? We're always here for you. Alrighty, so now for the meat and bones. I feel like we have a topic of the week, but I feel like this is going to be the meat and bones. We actually have a spoiler cast, a talk session about the newest, Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, Spider-Man Far From Home. We all saw this. No, Ben, you saw this about a week ago when it premiered.
Yeah, I saw it Thursday.
Yeah, but Teddy, Liv, and I, we watched this last night, and I want to, everyone watching, listening at home, again, spoiler warning. I'll let you know in the timestamp when our discussion is over if you've not seen the movie. Some of you guys still haven't seen Endgame yet for some reason.
Or the first Iron Man.
But that's okay. We'll let you know in the timestamp and hopefully on the video too when this subject is over. But let's go. Start with Liv. Just open it.
I thought it was pretty good. I don't know how else to describe it. The hallucination, what do you call it? The hologram parts were really cool. It wasn't my favorite favorite Marvel movie ever, but I thought it was really good, and I also thought it really helped shape Tom Holland's character a lot, because this really kind of started breaking him into like becoming an adult and becoming an older person. So
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I think the biggest thing that I took from this film, which following, like if you think about like the whole cinematic as a whole, like the whole Marvel universe, following a movie after Avengers Endgame is not easy to do when you think about that in perspective of what it is. So in terms of coming in as a lighthearted movie to kind of show what life is after the whole piece of Endgame and the universe and how that's kind of recovering from the loss of, important characters from Avengers, I think was a very nice and kind of touching way to do it and handle it. And I personally have always enjoyed Spider-Man in terms of the character, and Tom Holland, the fact that he can do his own stunts and play that character so well, I've personally enjoyed it very, very much. But it was a very good movie. I would recommend it as a family-friendly movie. Definitely go see it in theaters if you have the ability to. It's very enjoyable.
Cool. All right, Ben. I know you got some strong opinions.
yeah.
I'm ready to talk about
Yeah,
it.
let's
when
talk
I get
about
into
it.
when I get into movies, there's always two elements I want to look at, and that's kind of the cinematography. What are the effects? How did they put this visually together? And what is the story like? What's the continuity like? Does it make a lot of sense? And of course, from a Marvel movie, it was fantastic. As you said, Mysterio, all the effects. It's what you'd expect of a Marvel Studios film. Very pretty. It looked great. They were in London. And there were a bunch of places in Europe, and for the most part, that was cool. It was pretty nice, and I also loved just again all the outfits and the things they're doing with Spider-Man. It looks great. They're really gonna sell it. Those costumes, every single costume was actually added to the Spider-Man PlayStation game.
Yeah.
Like the day after the movie came out. So.
I was so sad because I actually had a one-on-one with Raifini,
Just
and I
like
was like, "Well, that's a cool costume."
He's like,
And
"It's in the
by
movie."
the way, guys, I hate any spoilers whatsoever. So I was like, "That's a cool costume." And Raifini was like, "Yeah, that's from the upcoming movie Spider-Man." This is the night, literally hours before we were going to watch. I was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
But yeah, what was you
Yeah,
saying?
real quick. Getting into the meat of it, into the actual movie itself. As you said, you're kind of when I came into this movie, I kind of considered and thought it was going to be a reset, setting the stage for what Marvel movies are going to be like after the exit of Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Captain America, all of them. And I think it did a pretty good job of kind of setting the stage of what things are going to look like. And they've always said for Spider-Man movies, they're not going to go back and use villains that have already been used previously. So I liked the Mysterio. I always knew if you read anything or you watched the video, you knew he was going to be a villain, and I thought it was a very creative way to turn him into that villain. I really, really liked that. And I also liked how they're pretty self-aware, right? For Marvel movies, the Marvel universe, it's honestly crazy. It's insane. Like there's like god-level enemies and stuff going on, and they kind of joked about the whole blip, and people are older and younger, and they're kind of self-aware and it's kind of humorous about it. And I thought that was a pretty good take on all that. I did, however, like the whole... they're really, really forcing this whole Peter Parker, you have to step up to be the new Iron Man kind of deal, or you have to step up to be the next Avenger. And I think Tom Holland did a good job selling all that. I feel like they've been beating that for a little bit. I don't know. And the whole excuses of like, there's no other heroes to save it. It just has to be you. That just doesn't seem very realistic.
I did not like that
I was
part.
like, oh,
They were
man,
like,
Doctor Strange is gone.
what about Captain Marvel? Don't even mention her.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
explicit. I was like, okay.
Sometimes they do great jobs though. They're like, cause like Ant-Man turns into like a wanted criminal, or he just, sometimes they do great, but
Yeah, even that superhero is currently depressed now is like a valid
Yeah,
one.
it's like, yeah,
but
he's just
the
gone.
other ones I didn't.
They're just gone.
Because
Doesn't
literally
exist.
they had a whole war of a fleet of superheroes, and you're like, well, why is Spider-Man, Spider-Boy, the pick?
Based off the end credits, I'm wondering if that kind of has to do with why everything was kind of weird and out of place. I don't know if
Well,
that fully.
before we get to the
Yeah,
end
yeah.
credits, let's talk about. I really want to break this.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's break
exactly. I wanted
start
to,
to
Okay,
finish.
okay.
I sat there and after the end credits, and poor Nyla, I did not talk to her at
Yep.
all. I was just sitting there writing down notes, and I think I really want to break down this movie because initially I did not like this movie,
That's fair.
and then I ended up liking the movie. And I think the movie itself is extremely smart. Whoever is the creative director, whoever's
Yep.
the writer of this movie, did the best, like, fourth level thinking for this movie ever, I think. The more I think about it, the more I realize that I have not thought about a movie more in Marvel movies specifically than this movie specifically. Because the whole purpose, the whole theme is deception and changing your mind.
Yep.
It's on the political level where you're seeing, the whole reveal. We'll talk about that, but it starts off with saying Mysterio, for instance, is the villain. Spoiler: he is played by Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh,
Which
he's great. He's phenomenal. Why
I
is he
very-
a villain? I'm
yeah.
sorry, I want to sideline you.
Yeah.
I have to say that.
He's
like,
a great creepy
I knew I
character.
wanted him to be in the Marvel universe, and I wish he was going to be more of a mainstay character
Yeah.
than Mysterio.
It was so sad.
phenomenal performance.
But ever since he started, he has this bad acting. He's like playing a bad actor, and you're like, wow, that's not Jake Gyllenhaal at all. And so like, so obviously something is fishy. If you don't know who Mysterio is, hopefully you could detect that by knowing Jake Gyllenhaal, because Jake Gyllenhaal is a phenomenal actor, and his very like stiff rendition of good Mysterio was so good.
Yeah, he was like the Mr. Nice Guy. Yeah.
Well, but he was bad at it, right?
Yeah.
He was bad at being Mr. Nice Guy. But then obviously right when the twist happens where Mysterio comes out as this former employee of Stark
Industries.
The other cool thing is that Jake Gyllenhaal, yes, he's the mastermind and the leader behind it, but he's got a whole team, right? So suddenly he's working against Spider-Man is working against a force of not necessarily evil, but a force of
Revenge.
revenge.
Yeah, it's a very twisted look at the world, which you kind of see the gap that is now gone. The world knows that the Avengers are kind of broken up, and you see people kind of wanting to take that whole power struggle, and
Yeah.
it's really interesting. It was
And I think leading up to this point, though, before the big twist of Mysterio was bad, it was just this weird movie. It was a weird,
Why are
drawn
these
out,
things?
like, boy high school movie, which I understand. I like that. But I hated the scene where he almost kills his classmate with the drone. I was like, what is this movie? Like, this movie makes no sense. It is actually bad. But the movie asks not of just Peter Parker, not of just the general public, but the literal people watching the movie to change their minds during the movie process. I think it purposely makes you hate the movie and purposely makes you want to like the movie at the end. Just like Peter Parker goes, you know what, I'm not cut out to be Iron Man. And then he says, you know what, I take that back. I am actually going to try to step up in some sort of way, just to let you know that, like, change your mind is okay. It is acceptable.
Yeah, no, I think realistically, when you look at it, you're trying to figure out why are things fitting together. And I was also very frustrated with kind of the decisions Peter Parker was making. I understand as a high school kid, there are things that are more valuable, and those all seem very realistic. But yeah, as you said at the end of the movie, it was a really cool mission. It wasn't just the whole, with great power comes great responsibility. They found a great way for Peter to find a reason to kind of come back. He was defeated. He was hit by a train, man. Like he was really thrown under the bus. And I think in the first movie, he made a lot of mistakes and he had someone to pick him up. And I think this time around it felt a lot more. You could tell, as you said, he was really growing as a character, as an individual, be able to pick himself up. It's a very unique kind of Peter Parker too. Again, if you're going back with the comics, he's got the whole Tony Stark kind of tech. There's a scene where he's working kind of in the workshop, just like Tony would do, building his suit. And it was a really kind of powerful couple of moments they had when everything fell into place.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this last night before I went to bed, but the whole, like, I think there's 3 big major plot points in this film that are interesting, that once you kind of start to break them down, you kind of see what the director, I think, wanted to do. Was the first part in the very beginning of the film, like, you get fed like a bunch of information about, like, you know, is Spider-Man going to be the next leader of the Avengers? Is he going to fill up to be, you know, who Tony Stark was? You kind of get this feeling of like he needs to step up to the plate. The second plot point of him is like his whole relationship with Mary Jane, and how he's got this big plan that he wants to take this girl out and he wants to feel normal like a kid, because that's something that, like, unlike all the other Avengers, he's only a 16-year-old. He's not someone who's a grown adult who's experienced those things as a kid, and so he has to tackle balancing being a superhero, which some people, you know, he says it to Jake Gyllenhaal, but he's like, I wish I could talk to somebody who was also a superhero, because sometimes people don't understand that, is people want to be superheroes, but they can't be, or they're just not capable of being it, but then he just wants to feel normal sometimes. And I felt like that was a big plot point for the movie. And then the last point was obviously Mysterio and how he wanted to kind of make a play and show the revenge side of, you know, I have the opportunity, even though I don't have superpowers, I can control what people see or what people believe, which I thought was super awesome of how they displayed that of, this guy's a villain even though he doesn't have superpowers or doesn't have like crazy strength or anything like that.
Right. It's all expectations versus reality. You have the boy whose expectation is to woo the girl, but the reality of it is this. You have our expectations for what the next Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to look like, but we have this. You have the expectation of filling up Iron Man's shoes, but you have Spider-Man. Those are all very big things that are relatable in the sense of, you know, all of us have these expectations. We don't necessarily always hit our expectations, especially if it's like content creation or something like that. But the reality is okay too, and the reality can be good. It might not be the same as your expectation, but it is met and fulfilled in a satisfactory way. If you really do take a stab at it.
No, I definitely agree with that, and I think that was the whole point of the movie. Honestly, this is a B movie, right? This was like a filler movie. This wasn't like a mainstream Marvel movie. This was the Ant-Man of the next phase. This was a, you know, like the main villain is not going to be a part of the whole cinematic universe. The whole point of this movie was kind of set the stage for what the universe is going to look like going forward. But I think they did a good job, like, being able to give you a message and making you feel make you actually think about the movie. Because as a whole, honestly, it wasn't a great Spider-Man movie. You know, there wasn't too many. I mean, it was a high school movie. It was Spider-Man in high school again, which is a trope that everyone understands, and it's not really hit upon too often, like in the comics and the TV shows or in the previous movies. And they've done a very good job. They did a great job in the first movie, you know, same way in the second one. And I'm hoping they're going to move past that going into the next one, now that his identity, at least his friends know his identity. But getting now into the spoiler part of it, at the end of the movie. What? Anyone else want to spoil this? But I have thoughts about this too.
Oh,
you could, yeah. I had one more thing before we even got to the end of the movie, which I think that a lot of people might have missed, that they didn't do in any of the other Spider-Man or any of the other movies, was the whole Spidey tingle thing. That was genius, the way that they did it, because they didn't take it from the previous movies with I forgot the actor's name, but from the older Spider-Man movies, They had the whole like Spidey sense, and they would like slow down time and do all this, you know, kind of cheesy film producing piece to it, where it's like, okay, like he has the ability to control time or something. But really, I think they did a nice humorous way of introducing that ability of Spider-Man that they didn't really touch on in the other films, that, you know, he can dodge bullets, but when they throw a banana at him, he gets hit by a banana. I thought that was something that was kind of very clever by the director to kind of show the toll that Spider-Man had after Avengers. Because if you think about it, in Avengers, he went up to space, he lost a bunch of people, he had to deal with a lot of trauma, he got blipped, all these crazy things happened to him, and the fact that he couldn't dodge a banana when his aunt threw it at him was something that was very subtle to show that this man's tired. Like, he's putting a lot of work, and it's not easy to do it, and I thought that was something that was very subtly introduced when he kind of near the end of Mysterio, when he's fighting him and he's like dodging all the bullets, and I thought it was a very cool way to introduce that ability to Spider-Man, because that is one of the coolest things about Spider-Man, is he has a sixth sense, right? He can dodge things that he can't even see.
Yeah, Liv, what did you think about the Spider-Man becomes a man moment? in that last fight scene with Jake Gyllenhaal.
It was so cool.
I thought it was dope. No words,
The
no music. Very
just like the way they did it, they just like they didn't make a big deal about the spice since they just did it. Like,
Just did it.
He
Yep.
just
well,
hit
that's
everything.
what Spider-Man would look like.
I know.
to us,
That was
right?
that was the good. That was the
It's-
awesome thing. And
yeah.
then at the end, his eyes were like. I thought it was just so cool that his eyes were red and he was like just done.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was when I was like, yeah, he's different now. Like he's not. He understands what's at stake now.
And right after that scene, so Mysterio, his whole plan was to manipulate and make these fake enemies and monsters appear so he could be a hero and save them. It was all illusions. He's able to make that work with his team to kind of show the world that there can be new heroes now that the Iron Man is gone. He gets defeated by Spider-Man, obviously, but still, again, manipulating and trying to deceive the public for what's actually going on. And it's cool. They bring back J. Jonah Jameson, the same actor from the first
Yep.
ones.
Yummy.
I love it. Amazing.
That
But
was probably the best part.
instead of running a newspaper deal, though, he's like doing a fake news kind of online
Bugle.
publication.
Yep.
Talk show kind of thing. I don't remember. And he says, "Hey, it's all out. Spider-Man actually did all this damage," and it shows the footage where he says, "Spider-Man is Peter Parker," and that's how it cuts. That's the last scene. Oh, well, kind of the last scene, and it cuts in the end of it. And it's interesting because like revealing Spider-Man's identity isn't like a new trope, a new idea. His identity was actually in the comics after the Civil War. He actually shows who he is to the world anyway. A lot of them come forward and reveal their identities, and it's actually later on he works with Doctor Strange to help erase all those memories of everyone. So that's something that they're kind of setting the stage for potentially. But being having your identity out in the public is not a new idea, but it's very cool because it is going to go back and kind of bring or kind of affect the whole universe as a whole. And I forgot where I was going with this, but I forgot what I was going to say. I just lost it.
I hope they don't. I hope they lead up to that, and he's like, no. I can do it.
Well,
Deal
I
with
mean,
it?
that's
Because-
how Tony Stark was. Tony Stark was like, I'm Tony Stark. I'm Iron Man. Here's my address. And like, while this is definitely not voluntarily,
Yes, he lives
like
in Queens.
like a voluntarily made reveal of his identity. Like if he does do that, he's like, no, it's fine. People can know who I am. Then I'm like, it's another kind of thing that he's like.
I just think
Iron
it'd be a
Man.
good lesson for kids who obviously this was a very children's skewed movie, right? That always hugged and winked and nodded at people who grew up with the MCU. But the jokes, all the slapstick was all like that bus scene was all for kids. And so I think it's a very good lesson to be able to say, hey, you know what? I have to deal with these things now.
Yeah, there are consequences. And
I think that's a metaphor for having to deal with adult problems now, like very real problems. But obviously, Marvel never shied away from getting political. Fake news was the very big theme this time around. Don't believe everything that you see. Don't believe everything that you hear. People may be lying to you. I think it was very eye-opening, especially as you get into things like deep fake videos where people can Photoshop videos now of
That's so
people
creepy.
speaking using their lip movements, and those are all very real things. Like, this was a Marvel movie, yes, there's a lot of really high tech that probably doesn't exist, but the technology is starting now to where all of those things, the truth, that was a very big theme. What is the truth and all of these? I don't exactly know what it was getting at. It was just raising that,
it's there. It's
hey,
be aware.
watch out.
Yeah.
There's no real handling in it because I don't think we as a society have figured that out either.
Well, this isn't like I like to really credit Marvel Studios for doing this, but this isn't the first film they've done this as well. Black Panther was another one of those films where it kind of played that political game a little bit, and I think it did a fantastic job playing around the culture of like Native American tribes and the whole piece behind it. So I love that Marvel Studios has the ability to have some fun and jokes and that family-friendly aspect to it, but it also likes to kind of spin the pot in terms of adding a little bit of flair to how they present the film. Even just like the comic book stuff too, they bring a little bit of references for people who've actually read the comics. So they do a fantastic job of just gathering around multiple people who subscribe to different views or how they see things, and then just try to present it in a way that's fun and friendly and people all can enjoy. And I think that's really why Marvel Studios they kind of found that formula of making something really, really good, and they keep making it. And I've always enjoyed what they've made.
They got the money, and they know they have the audience and the platform to do whatever they want, to say whatever they want to say. Oh, key thing, or thing I noticed actually that was not in any of the things I've read yet for Easter eggs. There was a point when cars were being thrown around. There's a license plate, and it says AMC. It says like the Amazing Spider-Man. It's just like the acronym for it, and it has a number. And if you go to and you figure out what comic that is from the Amazing Spider-Man, it's actually the comic where he fights the Elementals. I thought that was kind of cool because I had not seen that yet in any of the Easter eggs that had been announced. So I just remembered that.
Throws it as a big story, converts it to a small story with a big meaning behind it. All in all, I think. I mean, Marvel again. The older I get, the more I find myself thinking, I don't know what I could have done differently or better. It's like such a mess, right?
Yeah.
It's such a complicated mess that you have to suss through. But Marvel's doing a pretty dang good job of standing their ground, doubling down on someone like Spider-Man. I don't know how many times we saw him looking like an Avenger. He's got a flail and a shield at the same time. Like, he's putting the team on his back on a lot of the weight behind this entire franchise that makes billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie's always giving you these like, I hope you like this, and the last scene where he's swinging over the little bridge. I forget what the building is called, but that's where the first Avengers movie took place. Mm-hmm. The little sign that says, "We can't wait to show you what's up next." I was like, okay, well that's a little too obvious. But all in all, like, it is the actual how do we get over it? Endgame was like the bait of it all, but they all come back, and but this is us dealing with how do we get over. Chapter 1 is over now. Now we're on Chapter 2.
Yep, it's getting ridiculous, and they know it at least, right? Like,
but it's still
the world is ridiculous.
I'll watch the next one.
Yep, they're still being creative. We're still not beating it to tearing it apart like we did the DC universe. So keep going, Marvel.
Any thoughts about how much does Samuel L. Jackson get paid in these movies? Because he's in every single one now. So is Colby.
Yeah, Colby Smulders.
Smulders, like. They must be getting paid not nearly as much money to be in every single one of these.
They have a contract. They're just getting paid a fat amount. I don't know.
Well, what did you guys think about that last twist, though?
That's
Somebody
the thing,
explain
though.
it. Liv, explain it.
So, in the end scene, I can't remember if it was the first. There's two end credit scenes.
The second end
So
credit.
the second one, basically,
Post-credit scene.
Fury and I think Collins is her name, are driving in the car, and then they change back into Skrulls. And so basically the whole thing was like, the whole movie was about like, don't believe what you see. And then now literally the people aren't even the real people. And then they radio up to space somewhere where Samuel L. Jackson is sitting on a holographic beach saying, don't bother me. And I just very confused now, but it was just like constantly, it was kind of like it wasn't Doctor Strange in that, like, it was really, really trippy. It was just more of like, you never knew what actually was real during the entirety of that film.
I almost kind of think it was just a fun scene. I don't know if there's any meaning behind it. I think I just want to bring back in the Skrull from Captain Marvel. And really, again, I don't know how, again, they do a great job adapting their own version from the comics, but like the Skrull really aren't really good guys. Like in the comics, like they really are bad guys. They're not really great. Like they're not actually good people. So I think it's just like a fun scene. I'm hoping. I don't know. I wasn't able to gauge anything from it, honestly.
I took it as
he needed a break.
Hey, Nick Fury is not actually a screw up. He's still the
true.
top
Yeah, you're
dog.
right. Because Nick Fury made a lot of mistakes in the movie. He was. You're right.
That's the whole thing about this movie. It makes you change your mind. You're like, yeah,
he's
maybe
getting old.
Nick Fury isn't perfect.
Yeah.
I think that, and then they change it one last time. You're like, no.
It wasn't Nick Fury.
Forget what you were saying, Joe, earlier in your own mind. No, Nick Fury is. He is.
Yeah, so, right. That's a good sign. Because I remember too, I was like, Nick Fury, like he's off his game. He is making mistakes.
Yeah. And so that's the whole movie. It's just like, can you be open-minded? Can you yourself say, I have concluded that this is my opinion on something, and then change that after further review? And then can you persuade others to change that? That is the whole point of this movie. And I just went through this roller coaster of emotions, very mixed emotions throughout the movie. And luckily, by the end of it, I was like, yo, this movie was great. Because it forced me to sit back and say, I'm not always right. I can change my own opinion about something. And also, scarily enough, I could be very gullible to things too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the Netherlands. This is so random, but the Netherlands scene was so funny and so great. It was a good comic relief for about 5 minutes.
Any last words on this? We're gonna skip our other subtopics for today because the spoiler cast really covers a lot. But anything?
I'm just trying to recall where the last scene or piece that we saw Nick Fury at, because I have been trying to figure out what that final scene means, because generally they have those kind of, oh, this is going to be the Infinity Stone and all those pieces. But
Didn't he get on a spaceship with Captain
he was
Marvel?
he was on a spaceship, and the last time I remember was in Captain Marvel, where he was on the ship with the Skrulls, and it kind of made me, at first when I first saw that scene, I thought, oh, Nick Fury's been dead this whole time and we've been lied to. But then I see him on the ship and thinking that he's with Captain Marvel. I'm kind of left clueless and wondering for the next movie, like, what does this mean, or even if it has a meaning. But I'm having trouble recalling where he was the last time. I don't even know if he shows up in Endgame at all.
He was at it when he appeared at the end. Yeah, they showed
Very
everyone.
short, if that, yeah.
He
Yeah.
was at the funeral.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he even said he was at the funeral. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, he was.
Ben, any last comments about this?
No, again, I think it was a great filler movie sort of deal. We don't know what the next phase, what the stage is going to look like, what the big enemy is going to be. Again, you can't keep topping yourself over and over and over again. It's really hard. But they're doing it and they're looking strong. So again, you see the movie, it's pretty good.
I have a hunch that it will be a we need to save other people type of story, and it's all going to be a political thing about migrants and because it's like, well,
yeah.
we don't have, like, what's going to be, and then they get all divided about that too, and like, no, we have to be generous, no, we got to think about ourselves. Anyway, that's my opinion on it, because
Yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised. I could see that coming up as a topic.
Liv, last thoughts, Spider-Man.
Jake Gyllenhaal's smile when he reveals he's the villain is the best smile in the entire film.
I love Jake.
That was such
I
a good.
wish he
I
had a
saw
main
that and I
part,
was like,
man.
I was scared and I was like scared and like happy at the same time. I'm like, what's going on?
That's what's so sad about these. Like, this was like a TV show, like villain arc, except it's not, because we're not going to see him again. That's going to be it. It's so sad. Oh, he killed it though.
Jake Gyllenhaal, shit, man, props to that guy.
He's
You could
such-
tell just from the start. You're like, what, Jake? What are you doing? And then you're like, okay, all right, now this is the Jake I want to continually watch. But now you will die.
Yep.
He has
That's
a
sad.
pretty good tendency of playing those types of characters, and it's so bizarre to me. Every time I see him, I'm like, is he the bad guy? There's just so many films that I can't trust him anymore as the good guy. When he's being
never
nice, I'm
the
like,
good
he's lying.
guy.
He's
Zodiac.
not telling the truth. So
I like Zodiac.
Yeah, that's the only one. I was like, in Nightcrawler, creepy, weird,
yeah,
awesome
he does a
dude.
pretty good job playing those roles.
Yeah. And on that note, guys, Jake Gyllenhaal, if you're watching this, call us back. But thank you
Call
so
us
much
back.
for listening to our Ukatsu Podcast spoiler cast edition of Spider-Man: Far From Home. What's the next movie you think we could? Lion King?
That comes out this
We'll
week.
probably
month.
talk about it a little bit. But anyway, until then, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment about what you thought about Spider-Man Homecoming, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and things at Ukatsu. Big shout-outs to our kids, to our families, to our parents, and our schools. And follow us. Message us on Discord. We'll always be here for you. And let's close out this summer with a bang. I always think it's the end, but it's just the middle of it.
We're
Anyway.
literally like mid-70.
All right, we're about to hit our mark. Thank you so much for watching. We're out. Bye-bye.
See you later.
See ya.